Roby Price, and welcome to my workshop. Well, I'm just back from the home center and I've got a bunch of 2x4s. I'm ready for my first project in my new shop. And it is pretty pedestrian. We've got a new tool coming. I've got a new flatbed trailer and I need to build some braces. Otherwise that thing's gonna tip over. It's top heavy. So let's get inside and see what I can muster up to make some braces. I'll see you there. Tools, jigs, and accessories for the shop. Bringing home a new tool. Welcome to my new workshop. This is a far cry from the old one. It has an enormous amount more space. And I will give you a tour around on the iPhone. I have a gimbal, so it'll be a smooth experience. Over on this side, I've got my lathe and a couple of windows. My main tools are out this direction, and the drum sander is with the other tools as well, not behind a wall. On this side over here, I have some storage. And that's necessary. The objective is to try to get as much stuff off the floor as possible. I would like to have it painted. I don't know when that's going to happen. If you were to turn around, you'd see an area over there where my workbench is and some more storage. And finally, just behind you is my office. In addition to all this, there is a series of rooms behind this wall here where I will have more storage still. And that's where I intend on putting my lumber and perhaps a paint room. But as you can see, I have no air, I really have no electrical, and the dust collection is non-existent. So things are going to be very primitive for a while. Now, what are we going to do first? Well, I have a new tool coming, and I have a new flatbed trailer. And the trailer is just open on all sides. The tool that's coming is a sander, molder, planer combination tool. And it is top heavy. So I need some brackets built that will hold it and keep it in place while transporting from the truck to the workshop. As you can see, I've got hills to navigate, and these brackets need to be fairly strong. So I got a number of 2x4s. We're going to start building up brackets, and these will be screwed to the flatbed trailer, which has a wooden bed. So nothing happens till we get started. So I will get out some cords and a skill saw, and we will start doing some primitive building. Well, I'm still in boxes, so I'm using the tools that I can find. So my brackets are 4 feet along the base of the trailer and 4 feet high with a cross member in between. We'll build 2 of those, put one on either side, and then have a Z pattern between them. That should give me some pretty good stability and something to strap to. But of course, the first thing we need to do is make a couple of cuts. These are 2x4s, 8 feet long, so we'll make a mark here at 4 feet. Give me a line because I need to know what to follow. I have not found my speed square yet, so there you have it. In addition to that, I'm going to try this battery-powered saw because cords and drops are difficult. So we'll line him up as best we can and give this a go. .45-degree cuts are a little difficult, so especially with the skill saw. So what I'm doing here, I'm making a mark. That should give me enough to get past this edge here. My saw is set to 45 degrees, and I've got a good flat edge right here. So when I put my miter gauge, my tri-square right there, I get a good flat edge. Now I'm clamped down on the other side, and this is a difficult cut because it's a lot of blade, a lot of friction, but if you take it slow, it should do okay. The trick is not to force it. Well, in the corner, I've got one of my my 90-degree squares over there holding up this the back brace and the floor brace, and I'm going to take, and I've got 8 inches measured on this. I'll take this, make a mark, and then square it up. And you may have noticed this thing already decided it wanted to slide down a little bit. On this mark, I'll take an old jig from another project, put him in place, make sure it's square enough, and clamp him in place. Now I can move this thing down and not worry too much. This is going to hold in place up there. It's going to be okay for the most part. Now I've got a 3 1/4 inch screw, and I want to drive him down such that I don't come through the other side, but I want enough meat so that I grab, which is going to be about here. So I've looked on this angle here, and I've got my screw lined up to where it should be about 90. So I'm going to make a mark there. And once the first was in place, I don't have to worry too much about it. And of course, getting the first one to go right, a little pre-drilling can help. So I'll take myself a bit. It's about 2/64 or a 32nd smaller in diameter than the screw. And I'll start him out that way. And I'll take my drill. Once the first one's in place, you're usually pretty good shape. And there he goes. Now I just want to sink the head just beneath. No more than that, because I still am pretty close to the end there and I could split. That's another reason for putting the holes in. Now I'm going to put 3 screws in here, so there's 2 more to go, and then we'll start on the top. I've got the bottom done and I've turned him over, so both my 45 degrees are secured, and I feel pretty comfortable with these joints. But now it's time to do this side right here. We're going to take our same screws and we're going to go through this side into the end grain. And that's, you're right, that's not the best type of joint. So we're going to reinforce the sides here with something else here in a few minutes. But for now, I need to get this whole geometry somewhat stable so I can work with it. So it's the same procedure, except this time I can pretty much eyeball it. I know where I am, and I'll just take and pre-drill 3 holes. And I'm doing this so I don't split this board here. And again, it just takes the first one to really secure it into place. But don't go driving these things deep. Just sink the head. Because if you sink it all the way deep, real deep, you stand a better chance of splitting the wood. I have the first one put together, and they're supposed to be the same. So I have taken the boards for the second one and used a bunch of F-clamps and married them up against one another. So now it's as simple a matter as just drilling the pilot holes and putting it all back together again. So we can do this pretty much by eye. Joints are weak, and I know that. I'm going to solve this with a piece of plywood screwed into the sides on both sides. That'll make them very strong. So I have my track saw here and a piece of scrap plywood, and I'll just keep cutting triangles out of it until it's gone, and hopefully there'll be enough left for the fire pit. So let's go ahead and get that done. Well, I've got my triangles cut. This will help strengthen this joint unbelievably. And I'm just going to put those in the corners. I want the 2x4 to be what's resting on it, so I'll inset them a little bit just to make sure. And I have taken this one over here and taken some time to pre-drill them. I don't need to go deep because a 1 3/4 inch screw is fine. It'll get through this 1/2 inch plywood without any trouble and mobilize it completely. I've got 3 holes drilled here. And it's just a simple matter of screwing it in place. Well, you should be starting to see how this is coming together. I don't know how big my tool is, but I want to have a rub strip here to strap it to, one down there. I'm going to put one across the middle, and on the back side of this 2x4, I'm going to have a diagonal. That'll stiffen it up in this direction. Now, on the floor, we're screwing to the deck of the trailer. So I'm not too worried about that. That's not going to go anywhere. So I have checked for square, and we're looking pretty good. I'm going to pin each one of these with a single screw and then check again before I put the diagonal in, and that will lock it into place.
Let's move through this just a bit faster.
Perfect. Now I've got 4 more to do here. I will be checking each time, making sure we're flush on top. That rattling moves things around a bit. So we've got to check, to drill, to check, and then we'll finally square him up. Taken some time, and I've laid this down flat, and I've squared him up with my tri-square. Now what I want to do now, I'm pinned in each one of these 4 corners. I want to pin the diagonal in place. Once it's pinned, it's not going anywhere. And then I'll flip it back up and drill in from the other side. I don't want any sharp pins or anything on the outside next to my equipment. So it will only take 1. And again, I like to pre-drill. So that the screws go in that much easier. And again, just to the surface. I will be flipping it back up and drilling all the screws to these boards from the opposite side in just a minute. Now that I'm pinned everywhere and this diagonal's in place, this thing is rock solid. But I need it to really support some heavy load, because when I'm on the freeway, this unit's going to want to tip back and forth. This direction is strong. I want this direction to be strong too. So I'm going to, on each one of these corners, I'm going to marry up with 2 more screws, 3 more screws. I want 4 on each. On these diagonals, I'm going to put a couple more screws in those as well. So there's going to be no worries here. Same procedure as before. We will take our drill, drill through, and we can do all of them at this point. And follow up with the screws. Again, I want the heads just at the surface. That pre-drilling really helps with the wood not splitting. Those 4 left, we're going to put another cross beam right here and pin this one down a couple more times and we're done. Well, all the screws are in. and I've gotten that cross brace member in, and it's pretty stout. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. And with these plywood side panels in place, I feel pretty certain that this is going to do its job. I also have put in a front brace right here. I don't know what I'm getting. All I know is it's about the size of a standard pallet and the center of gravity is high. And that's the reason for all the caution. So what I will do in the morning, I will take this and secure it to the bed of my trailer with a couple of screws. Once my new tool is loaded onto my trailer, I will unscrew this and move this to the load. And then I'll screw the crud out of it on the bottom, making sure it won't go anywhere. Now, after that, it's a matter of taking ratchet straps and pulling it up tight and snugging it down. And then navigating my way back to the shop. So the next time you see me, my trailer will be at least halfway into this shop, and we'll be figuring out how to get this beastie off the trailer and into the shop. And that'll be the last part of the episode. But for you, it'll only be a second. As a matter of fact, it's coming up. For me, it's a shower, a night's sleep, a little bit of supper, not in that order. So stay tuned.
Putting it on the trailer went without a hitch. A little trailer humor there.
Well, here it is. It's in the shop. And it only took 3 tries to get it through the door, but it's through the door. I've got it chalked up on one end. It's not going to go anywhere. It's time to start taking the myriad of boxes off this thing. I've got a whole bunch of stuff right over here, and then I've got the main tool over here. So we will start by taking the little stuff off after we get our straps off and put it on the table and take a look at what each one is as we go. The first thing to do is get the straps off. Wow. Yeah, that is going to be interesting. We are bolted to the pallet. This is a different beast. I'll be honest with you, this is going to take a little thought. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to get this off the trailer, but I'll get back with you. The boxes are all removed, the top is off. I've even unscrewed it from the pallet. So the next thing to do is just to pick it up. The problem is it weighs in at about 600-700 pounds. And I just can't put that on my shoulder anymore or pick it up and move it like I used to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a multi-purpose hoist to pick things up off this trailer. In other words, I'm going to have something that comes up and over. And we're going to use a number of chain falls to help us work that out. Now, I've got bolt holes. These are standard components right here. I'm going to secure some 2x4s to the frame right here. And then I'm going to use this right here to help level it out and make sure that the chain falls stay put. So bear with me. The first step is to get members secured to this stand that will make sure that we can pick it up. Most of the load will be on the bottom, Ordinarily, I'd like to pick it up from the top. It would be more stable. However, looking at this, it is uncertain to me where to pick it up from the top. So there you have it. And we'll just work with what we've got. I've got a leveler. We'll keep it very level and very safe. So bear with me. The first step is to get the framing around this piece such that we're comfortable with taking the load. I'm set up at the drill press, and these are my first two boards that will adhere to the bottom of the frame. These are going to take the majority of the load up on the frame. And I've got some lines here that line up with some bolt holes. I've got a 3/8 bit in my drill press. The bolts are 5/16. So we have a little slop in there, but not a whole lot. I'll stack both these boards on top of each other, and then I will drill another hole long ways for this to go in, and I'll put a big washer on it, and that is actually what the chain fall will hook into to lift the unit up. I've got one side bolted on. The next side will be very similar. And then we get started on the next piece. I have my chain fall right here, and I've measured to the ground, and based on the frame and how much distance I've got, this should be able to land the tool on the ground, especially once I add the wheels, which will give me a little bit more. This is the height that I want. So whatever I put above here, I need a little bit of lanyard. So from there, I can cut my posts, and these are them. They're 3 2x4s, and there's the shelf right there on either side. I will have 2 2x8s going off this direction, resting on this, screwed to this member, which will give it a little bit of stability in that direction. And from here, I'll have another post a little farther up, same configuration, and the 2x8s will span between them. And from there, I'll show you how we'll get the hooks for the hoist. But for right now, I've got this one placed. We just need to put some screws together. Does it need to be super strong? Well, it already is super strong. All I need is a couple of screws here, and the boards will do the rest. This one's in compression. That one's just providing a little bit of stability above that. The 2x8s are going to be doing all the work. Now, at the end of the day, I will have a cross brace up there to give myself some stability so the frame won't rack. The whole intent is to try to do this. I don't want a lot of screws in it because I'm going to need to take it apart after the fact. I have nowhere else to put it, at least not for now. So we're going to screw this together and get 3 more of these done.
Well, I've got him on a couple of horses, and I'll go ahead and sink about 6 screws on one side, flip him over, and sink another 6. Want to make sure he stays together.
I'm starting to put the portal together for the hoist, and I have my top piece right here. That's a 2x8 going across 2 of my columns, one over here and one set up on 2 horses over there. This is a 10-foot span. It's a little longer than I would typically like to do, but I have to have 10 feet because my trailer has to go underneath it. So I've got this board, and he's snugged up real tight against this corner. I've also made a mark here. That's 4 feet from this corner. I've made a mark here. That's 3 feet from the corner. Now what I will do, I'll take my tape measure and I'll measure out 5 feet, which is 60 inches. And if I put this there and here, it's going to be right at 60 inches. I've done this before. So it is secure. It is square. And that's one of those 3, 4, 5. That's a good way to square things up. 3, 4, and 5 across the hypotenuse. 9 degrees every time. So what I've done, I've pulled this tight because I want this to rest against this shoulder here. I don't necessarily want it to rest against the screws, but I will put the screws in, and I will secure this with a clamp right here to make sure it doesn't go anywhere when I put my first screw in. So I'll put in 2 more of these screws. I'll tackle that side, and then I have the joy of flipping this over and doing it all over again, because there will be 2 of these 2x8s, and you'll see why here shortly. Well, this is one of my frames, or at least part of it. The rest is over there. I have put in a small 2x4 on the bottom to help keep it upright. But now it's time. I'm looking at these and thinking to myself, okay, I've got 3 little screws over there and 3 little screws over there. I want to triangulate this in order to make sure I get no trouble lifting these heavy loads. It's just not worth it. So this is a half a 2x4, cut at 45 degrees on the bottom. I'll let the top run wild. I'll drop a screw or 2. And I've got it marked, so this should not interfere with my chain falls. So this will actually go a long way for making this thing rock solid stable. It's time to start working on some of the supports from the top. I've got some bracing in place. I'm going to put some more bracing in place too, but I'm not going to show all the intricacies of that. But what I am going to show you is a little bit about this. This is the top mechanism, and you can see it right over there. All this really does is we just have this bridging the gap, but it's more important than just putting a bolt, drilling a hole and putting a bolt on. I actually have a very thick decorative washer, and this is for a different type of system, but it's a large plate and it helps spread out the load, and that's what I'm looking for. So over the hole I'll put that, and I'll follow up with another washer. And then it's as simple as assembling this thing between the 2 slats of these boards. It provides an enormous amount of strength, and it equalizes it across the 2 boards, and it also allows me to place the chain fall wherever I need it to be, which creates a very flexible system. So the load can be a little bit over that way or a little bit over this way, and yet I can still place my chain falls. So really the only thing that's necessary here to complete this unit is to drill a hole, and I have a stop set up on my drill press, and the fence is set up centered. So very simple process. Now the stop is set up so that it won't go through, but I've still got the hole in there, and because nothing is perfect, I'll just go ahead and hit the hole on the second pass. Very simple. Put this on top, come up through between the beams, very easy to do. And then put the nut on, and we're set. Well, my rig is finished, and you can see the bracing on the sides. I've got it all triangulated out, and it's pretty solid. It's really solid. And I have taken the time to put some load on these lines, and they're taut. Also, I have my table saw guide right there. That tells me how level I am, and that is important. I am not worried about front to back level so much. I'm very worried about level this way. That's one of the reasons this is here. This is to catch this line and make sure that this unit doesn't tip. I'm going to be moving these down a touch at a time in order to come off high enough off the pallet so that I can pull him out. Now I'll tell you now, I'm not on the pallet. I've got maybe 1/4 of an inch, but The big trick for me is, the first trick is to pick it up high enough, get off the pallet. That tests this coming up. The second trick is, I want to take it all the way down and put it on the trailer. I want to see how the operation works prior to pulling the trailer out and getting that done. So we're going to go ahead and get set up for that. We are set up for that, but I'm going to set up the camera such that it will be a fast motion, and you'll see that full process, picking up a little higher, pulling the pallet out, and lowering down onto the bed of the trailer. That's going to be important. I'm sure how these things lift up. I've lifted them up a little bit at a time. I'm not as sure how they go down. So bear with me. One more scene. We'll be there.
This is the first of several fast-forwarded scenes. These processes are slow, and there's no point spending the real time watching them. However, I do believe we're going to wear out this fast-forward button by the end of the video.
Alright, that wasn't as smooth as I wanted it to be, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been. So the next step is to take this and lift it up. I want at least about the same amount of space in between before I pull this trailer out, because I'll have to lift the tongue up to get the ball under the hitch. So in the next take, we're going to be lifting it up, and then we'll pull the trailer out.
Watching this in real time is kind of like watching paint dry. Let me speed this up for you so you don't go to sleep on me. Well, you can only get the truck so close. At the end of the day, sometimes you just have to pick it up and put it on the ball.
Well, I've parked the trailer out back, and it's obvious, like so many things, none of us are experts at everything. And parking a trailer, backing it into a stall is not my expertise. But it's under the shed roof, and when the rain comes, it won't matter. Now we're getting ready to lower this beast, and this is the part that really concerns me. So I have my wife standing right over there ready to call 911 in case anything happens. We'll only get one shot at this because I'm not picking it up this high to show you what happens again. These hoists have an up and a down, and I will get a pair of glasses so that I can see. Down, 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 and down. I will start with this side. This is the side that's the lightest. The other side has the motor on it, which is substantial. And these are in reverse.
Well, in the end, it came down just fine, but I've got him a little short. I want to keep him on blocks long enough to get the wheels on.
Well, after a few busted knuckles, I've got the wheels on and I'm getting ready to let him down. So we'll see.
can see I'm talking, but there's no sound. The microphone battery is giving up the ghost. It's down with a minimal amount of fuss, and this project is going to come in handy for a number of different applications. It's even tall enough I can get my pickup truck underneath it. All that's left to do is to get these 2x4s off of it, and she's ready to go. I'll see you next time on Roby's Workshop.